Hey guys, my name is Mia.
I'm Amber.
And welcome to the Pink Room Unplugged, episode 3.
Wow, episode 3.
Episode 3 is crazy.
And today we have a guest.
Yes, guys.
Hey everyone, I'm Messiah, and thanks for having me.
Of course. How are you feeling today? How do you feel about being on the podcast?
Honestly, a little nervous not knowing what's coming up, but happy to be here. Happy to get your multiple questions. Yeah.
I want to take a moment to appreciate the fit.
He wore pink. Like, we have got to be more thoughtful. Yes.
Look, y'all did too. Look, y'all got y'all pink.
But
well, we're the hoes.
That's expected from us.
You really came through with the notes of pink.
The hat.
I really love the jacket.
Pink on the jacket.
It goes so perfectly.
You know, I had to come show support. You know, pink is one of my favorite colors too.
Appreciate it.
I don't know. Yeah, so
all right. So the way we like to start our episodes is with a little icebreaker.
Okay.
We got some questions for you. They're rapid fire, so one word answer only. Just gonna break the ice.
All right.
Get to know you a little bit.
I'm excited to hear the answers.
It's all kind of funny questions, like nothing to be nervous about, but let's see what your answers are. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Super speed.
Duh. Describe yourself with one word.
Damn.
This is rapid fire.
Take your time. Take your time. Well, not too much time.
Not too much. We got time limit now.
What's the question again? My bad.
Describe yourself with one word.
He's like, there's so many. I just can't choose.
He's like, everything.
Confident.
Nice. Are you calling or FaceTiming?
I'm FaceTiming for sure.
Period. Best form of potatoes? Fries, hash browns, mashed.
Mashed.
Okay, you could have also gone off that list if there's...
You can't give the examples.
All right.
Next time.
Okay.
They go off those.
But what else somebody gonna say? Boiled? Okay.
I don't know why I thought that you were talking about different types of potatoes. I was about to say, well,
Idaho.
potatoes. I was about to say, damn, I don't cook, so I got to think long and hard about this.
That is hilarious. Okay, you'll get $1,000 if this person answers your call. Who are you calling?
My girl.
Period. Best place you've ever been?
Best place I've ever been, Jamaica.
Least favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, chocolate for sure. Chocolate.
Most used app on your phone?
Instagram.
First person you'll call for advice?
My dad.
Are you sleeping with your socks on or off?
Off. Why did that?
Okay, good answers.
Do you feel a little bit more
I'm good.
Relaxed, ready to go?
Feel good.
Broken ice?
Yeah. I can't believe it took you that long to think of one thing about yourself or one word for yourself.
I was about to say that nigga, but I was like, you know what? That's
two
two
words.
First of all, I was gonna get started with the bullshit a little early.
See, you need to relax. You had a little bit too much wine. Let's calm it down a little bit. Okay, so I think we should probably talk about, how we met, like all three of us. You guys know I still have a picture from when we went to Indiana. I look at it all the time. I'm like,
why pops up on like the memory for my phone. It pops up sometimes.
It's so funny because that's from what, 2019?
2018.
Was it 20?
I think it was 2018.
No, I think it was 2019. I think it was the beginning of 2019 because
fall semester.
Okay, y'all don't know what pisses me off about that picture?
What?
Wait, what?
He said what pisses him off?
My suit jacket was buttoned and it was sitting there stretching when I'm trying to take a picture with both of y'all. I was like, you know what? This shit looks horrible.
I'm crying.
The things people see about themselves in the picture, because I would have never, ever thought that.
That was a time. But anyway, let's talk about how we met, because we met separately, but I'm talking about with you. I think it was when we all crossed, right?
It's when we all crossed. We all joined Greek organizations, and we came out in the same year, same semester, and this one here happens to be my club, which means she shares the same number I do.
We're both quads.
So, yep.
So, yeah.
The cheese.
So that's how we met, and that was 2017.
Yeah, because we were close to your whole line, kind of.
Yeah,
basically.
We were all supposed to hang out and everything, but it didn't happen.
Oh, you're talking about yeah.
That was a dub. But yeah, I think I don't know if we necessarily got, like, actually, like, talked to you until later down the line, though.
Till e-board, right?
Because I don't feel like you, I mean, I think we talked before that, but maybe got closer.
On e-board.
Yeah, we got closer.
Because you were really, like, not there.
We were on the
Cross.
e-board of the council of our Greek organizations.
Fraternities, yes.
So just think of everything like a big umbrella. So it's like we're, yeah.
And we were on the top of that umbrella.
For sure.
Okay.
But I think my first instance, I knew of Mia. Amber, I remember seeing you at our first NPHC meeting. You were really nice.
Oh.
Unlike this one.
I knew
I'm crying.
I like this one sitting there, but
it's like no one's ever said that to me.
Mia just looks stank all the time.
it wasn't even that. I just think when it comes down to, you got strong personalities. You got some personalities that have to grow to be cool with each other, be around each other, and you got know-it-all mentalities also. So you got people that are sitting there that are like, okay, no, I'm right about X, Y, and Z. I used to see a lot of people just fold to what Mia's saying, and I'm just like, that's just bullshit. That's just bullshit.
You know, because everything I said was fact.
I'll be like, no.
No, the thing, Mia says everything she says like it's facts.
Yeah, and I'll just be like, no.
No, I'm not saying that a lot of it's not facts. I think most of it is facts, but when you say things like it's facts, people are more likely to believe that it's facts. You know what I mean?
That's true.
When you lead with that, like, confident, like, I know what I'm talking about, people trust that.
Even when I don't. You gotta act like you know.
Put that girl in law school.
Okay.
Quite literally.
Quite literally. But yeah, I think, so that's the, like, when we all, like, met each other, but me and you got close. Well, first of all, because you bring this up all the time, but I had an internship, like, in the area. Like, what was that? That was 2021. And I remember we were supposed to hang out. Okay, go ahead. You say it. You say
Look,
it. I know you want to so bad.
So, college, first off, before we even get there, I don't understand why it's foreign for a male and a female to just grab lunch without somebody
Anything
assuming something.
Right.
Yeah.
She flaked on me in college. 2021, she was here for an internship. We pulled up to a friend's kickback. I was like, oh, she's here. Okay, cool. She's like, yeah, let's get lunch, this, that, and the other. Cool. Hit her up the day for lunch. And it was a slow response back. I was like, okay. I guess it's happening times two, all right? And then I got a message, oh, no, I'm going to go see, oh, yeah, I forgot I'm meeting up with a friend, which I was like, okay, I'm not even about to even, I'm going to just leave it alone, let it sit where it is. But I guess, I don't know. It's just, for some people, for some instances, it's hard to understand people's intentions, whether it's genuine or whether it's something completely different, and I get it.
Yeah. I think whenever the experience, I feel like, well, you just say how you feel about that story, because you were the other person in the story.
I mean, I honestly don't, like, remember it to a T. Like, I do remember not doing it. But I think I was just, like, I don't think it was anything towards you. I think I was just flaky. Like, I never really, like, met up with people. Like, especially when I was in Charlotte for that internship. Like, I really hung around the same people, like, every single time I would go out. So I don't think it was anything towards you. I think I was just, I don't know. And I think I get awkward, like, with people I don't really know like that, when it's just, like, one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was just, I think that's the reason I probably flaked. But again, it was so long ago. But then I think after that, I don't know, we must have got cool, like, through mutual friends or something. We ended up being, like, in the same group. Was it through when you came to my graduation?
So we have a mutual friend who was already coming to your graduation. And he was like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, shit, see if I can come.
I think it was Deshaun.
Yeah, it was Sean.
Oh, yeah.
It was Sean. I was like, okay, see if I can come. He hit me back. He was like, yeah. Mia said, yeah, cool. I was like, all right. We ended up, you had, like, a little section and everything.
Facts.
She had, like, a little
At
section.
the graduation?
No, at the club.
Oh, I was like, okay,
My bad.
Like a lounge club thing.
A little lounge, like a little bougie little section. I was like, all right, cool. Other friends are there. Mm-hmm. It was really cool getting a chance to meet her folks, meet some of her people. family funny as hell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's when everything started, honestly. Because then we developed a group chat, and then we started the group chat. We started communicating. That's when you got a chance to see personalities, and drawing everything back to college a little bit more. We were always, it's either she's doing something or I'm doing something, or we're at odds, or she's doing somebody else's job, or somebody else's job.
What does
And
that mean?
Okay, this is no shade to anybody else, but like I am just a person that, and y'all both know this. Like I'm just a person that like when I like to see things get done, and so when things were not getting done, I just instead of saying something, I'll just do it myself. I'm just like whatever, I'll do it myself, so that way I know.
This is in reference to your actual job?
No, this is in reference to when we were all on e-board.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, college.
Yeah, college specifically. So when that happens, I tend to just just step in and do other people's jobs. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, back to the group chat. That's where it started to develop. The friendship started to develop and everything, and it stemmed into other group chats with us being in similar group chats and everything. And I don't know, it was just very playful, very just. I don't know, you got a group chat full of assholes. So we're all just going to show who we really are.
Yeah.
So that's how everything really just came about.
I think particularly like about Messiah, I think we didn't realize in college how similar we were. And so there's things that we would like agree on or whatever the case may be. But I think in college, I was just so like, I don't know, driven to like get things done that I kind of disregarded anything else anyone else said, because I'm like, it was my way or the highway. Okay, so but I think outside of the group chat, I think me and Messiah ended up realizing like our similarities or whatever, and then we talk every day now.
Yeah,
literally every single day. So
just about.
That's crazy. My dog.
100%.
I love a platonic man and woman friendship.
Because people don't think it could happen.
People don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had any like challenges? Because you're in a relationship. Has there been any challenges like with your relationship dealing with the fact that you're so close to Mia?
No, but
because she knows you too.
We're actually we hang out too. Like we just went to the gym yesterday, literally.
I think it all stems from with that. Just getting your partner comfortable with who you're cool with. Like, for instance, Mia was around prior to my relationship, even though the person who I'm in a relationship with was like my right hand at one point. Evan and I were really close friends prior to everything. She sniffed that right out. She called me separately from the group chat. Mia, she was like, yo, so what's going on with you and Ed?
He tried to lie. I was like, this is just a lie. Like, I just knew it. Like, it was just something about, I don't know, the vibe.
Yeah, but back to your question, though, I think it's just more so getting your partner comfortable with the individual. I feel like your partner should also have some sort of relationship with them as well, to make them feel, I don't know, just to drop the guards and make sure that the boundaries are there. And I put myself in that. And so I put myself in those shoes all the time. I'm like, well, okay, if I was her, how would I want to be presented to the opposite sex of my partner's friend? So just for me, just being the same person that I am, having me around, letting them develop a friendship, and just letting everything go from there. Everything's been smooth sailing. There hasn't been any friction, and I think everything is just copacetic the way it should be.
Do you think that would be like an ode to who she is as a person, or
both? I think it's a testament. She's one of those people, if you don't give her a reason to think negatively or think differently about something, don't get me wrong, everybody's going to key in on and not drop their guards to anything. But as long as you present things in a respectful way, you're good. And that's in any friendship you're in, any relationship you're in. Even when you're dealing with people at work, the only difference is you can't tell people at work, fuck you. That's just what it is. I'm sorry if I'm talking, because you got to put that out.
Say what you got to say.
How do you feel like that looks like on I guess from your perspective, as in, we're talking about how she feels about, you being friends with women or whatever the case may be. But for you, is it kind of the same thing? Like, you would appreciate that same sort of respect or introduction
Yeah.
with that?
If she had a
100%.
male friend?
She does have male friends, and my thing is, I've always looked at it like I've always had male and female friends. How close they are, that really just depends on the bond that I started to build with them and the similarities that I have with them. Like this friendship, we'd say all the time we used to go at it. So it was one of those things where it's like, how the hell does a damn Aries and a Scorpio mesh and become cool? You got two dominant personalities who are not going to back down to anything. That's just not trying to go into zodiacs, but it gets into that. But I feel like when I'm looking at, say for instance, she is a male friend that I'm meeting, until you give me a reason to feel differently about something, I'm cool.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10, even when we're dealing with families and stuff like that, you could have the same viewpoint towards a family member as you would a friend.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, you could dislike a family member, and just like you could a friend, but the difference is the family member is more permanent than a friendship would be, but at the end of the day, it's communication. Like, if there's any inkling that I have with anybody in her family, anybody who's her friends or anything along those lines, I communicate with my partner, and I allow her to handle it. There shouldn't be a point to where you popping off on your partner's friends. That's just not...
Right.
I think it's interesting, like, the one word you used to describe yourself was confident, and I feel like a lot of how you're describing your reaction would be and how her reaction is to, like, you having opposite sex friends comes from a place of confidence.
Yeah.
Because I feel like whenever people are insecure, you don't have to give them a reason to distrust you. They will find it, whether it exists or not.
Yeah.
How did you become so confident? Like, what were there points in your life where you weren't as confident as you are now?
Yeah.
Or were you just...
I've always been me, but honestly, I'm starting to really sit back and think about confidence. I am confident, but at the same time, I don't let anybody close to me. Very few people do I let in my inner circle. So, and Ebony said to me a few times, she's like, well, there's a difference between being private and secretive. It makes me sit back and look at things. I'm like, well, am I secretive or or do I just not want people in my business? I would know everybody else's stuff, friends and everything, but unless you were tight-knit and been around for a while, I'm not telling you anything. So when it comes down to confidence, I guess it stems from my upbringing. Confidence really stems from my dad and my grandfather.
Do you feel like they're, like, really confident people, or like I guess if they're really confident, did they kind of teach you to be that way when you grew up?
They taught me even when you're not confident or you don't feel completely secure, you give off the impressions or you give the acts of being that. So
kind of like a fake it till you make it type of action.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of like that, but you can't, like, if you're trying to peep something, you're not going to just react. You have to sit back and be able to observe. Like, I had to learn when to start shutting the fuck up. I'm not going to lie, because I'm an extrovert. I'll talk all day long. But how am I talking and listening at the same time? So I had to learn how to ask people questions, how to understand them. Because if you don't understand the individual, how do you know what benefits that you would, how you would benefit them? How do you know they're going through something? And that's the type of person that I try to pride myself on being towards anybody, any friend, any enemy. And because if you think about it, life is short. There's shit that we all deal with personally. There's stuff that we all react differently to situations. Some people may lash out, some people may shut down, some people may just act completely normal. And you have to learn how to decipher that between each individual that you're dealing with, and that's also goes into confidence. Because you have to be able to interact with them. You have to be what your partner needs, what your friend needs, what your acquaintance needs at that point in time. So being able to shapeshift, being able to be more than what in your eyes you are. If that makes sense.
Does that sounds like a lot of weight on your shoulders though? No?
As a man, you get used to it. it's a way.
Man.
Well, or as as a man growing up, I was taught that you have to learn to be able to carry the weight.
Mm.
Not necessarily doing everything for everybody, but you have to learn. As a man, I was raised with the morals and the principles to be like, okay, if person A is thinking about now, you have to think about now and 10 steps down the line. How do you, like, for me now, the big thing for me now is buying a house over the next few years. The way these interest rates and stuff like that are looking, how do I get from renting to ownership? How do I get from renting to getting exactly what I want? Because a need and a want, people say that there's a difference between a need and a want. You need to eat, you need to drink, but the things you buy, why do I want to buy a house? Just to say I bought a house versus something I take pride in. That's how I look at things. So I go at things aggressively. I don't mind failing because I would rather understand what's on the opposite side of that door than not knowing, than not trying at all.
Certainly had to take time to get to that point though, right? I don't know, I look at failing, I feel like failing can make you feel really insecure in yourself and feel really bad about yourself. So to be comfortable with failing, I imagine that has taken you time. Or have you always been comfortable with failing?
You never get comfortable with
right.
failing. So it's just, for me, I adapt. I may fail at one thing, but I have something on the back burner to distract myself while I'm dealing or coping with what I failed at. Doesn't always work. It's depending on the situation, but in some cases, I would consider that to be avoidance. And that's something else.
Okay. So if you're avoiding it, you're not really feeling the feeling of failure.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because I feel like I've talked about this with you, I think, before, but there's like different, like, it was like a personality test I had sent you, and I was like, there's different types of personalities that people have, and my aunt had sent me it, or whatever, and it ended up being that I'm just a perfectionist. Like, I like to be successful in everything I do, and it really, really, like, hurts me or, like, pains me, like, to the point where, like, it affects my mental, like, significantly when I fail at something. And so I feel like, I mean, it's a point of strength, honestly, to get to a point where you are able to fail and then be comfortable with whatever happened, or to pick yourself back up. So I guess, like, as far as, like, dealing with adversity or things that happen like that, like, how do you typically deal with that since you've developed the feeling of picking yourself back up after you fail?
How do I deal with the adversity? It comes in waves. It's just like stages of grief. Look down. I'll look in the mirror and be like, man, you're a dumbass. But at the same time, with how I grew up, and a testament to my dad in a lot of different ways, everything was put to me straight. Nothing was sugar-coated. And it's either you're going to stand up or you're going to sit there and let those words just become who you are. It's either, like, so there's nothing anybody can say to me that's going to sit here and break me. Because the hardest conversation for me to have is sitting 30 minutes away here in Charlotte.
Your dad?
My dad. That's the hardest conversation. That's the hardest person to talk to, but it makes it easier for me to talk to everyone else. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm in states to where I don't know what's up and down, that's sometimes my voice of reason.
Are you, not to cut you off, but are you, because I find it interesting that you say that the first person that you would call would be your dad in any situation for advice. But it's also very hard to have conversations with him. Is the reason why because you're afraid to get, I guess, the raw truth? Or, like, what is the reason why he's the hardest conversation to have?
He's the hardest conversation to have because I know he's going to give it to me uncut. Raw. So sometimes when I stem out from talking to him, it gives me a chance to sit back. There are instances where I contact my friends, very close acquaintances. Me and seen it a few times, and because I can be a little quick-tempered at times, I can be a little hothead, at times. Sometimes being a little irrational when it comes down to certain things, but and
is that something you get from your dad too?
It comes with both my parents. Both of them are a little. I mean, you got a Leo, and you have a Aries. My mom is a Leo. My dad's an Aries. So you got two strong personalities.
Fire now.
Yeah.
Me and his dad get along great, by the way.
Looking at that and a testament to my upbringing, looking at my grandfather and staying true to who I am. My grandmother and my grandfather, they set my foundation growing up. Parents had me at 18 and 19 years old. So Dad was in the military for a while. And my foundation was really what they showed me. It wasn't until Dad came back from the military, Mom was always there and everything, making sure we had everything. But really looking at, okay, what is the role of a man? So I always had a male role model of some sort growing up. So I think that's something I look up to. I'm like, okay, I've always had watching him take care of things, watching him come in from being a truck driver, being gone 4 days out of the week, still making sure that everything was taken care of at home. My dad said to me all the time when I was in high school, he'd be like, well, hey, if you can't sit up here and deal with conversations while you're multitasking, while you're driving, how do you suppose you're getting into it with your significant other or your kids? And how do you elect to respond? So I was trained early how to separate emotion from logic from emotion, and being able to compartmentalize situations.
I know you, and we talked about this a little earlier, but when you talked about planning ahead and like always making sure you're like one step ahead or whatever, I know we had some conversations about how, I guess, dealing with other people in situations, like how do you make sure that you're not overstepping any sort of boundaries when it comes to trying to plan and make sure everything's good and you think you're doing the right thing, but that might be overwhelming for someone else to have to deal with you doing everything for them.
Yeah, you know firsthand, that's something I'm still learning, still growing through. Sometimes my ambition can get in the way of me understanding what another individual may want, need, and where they are. Sometimes ambition. How so?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you have a voice, you can drown other people's voices with your own intuition. Mm-hmm. And that's something I'm learning. Even though I'll step and be like, oh, I'm going to handle X, Y, and Z. You have to take a step back, and what I'm learning is I have to learn to take a step back and allow the other person to come with their ideology, their viewpoints, and seeing where they are. Mm. Even if my immediate response is, boom, X, Y, Z needs to happen. Versus me doing everything, how do I get the other person to agree and come to that consensus on their own, or doing it in their own way to where it doesn't feel like I'm just manning everything. And I guess it just comes from a personality thing.
It's funny that your first thought was, how do I, instead of telling them what to do, how do I get them to do what I want them to ultimately do versus the second thought was, or how do I get them to do it in their own way?
Yeah, I have line brothers who have helped me with this, gotten my ass about this. One sitting right here who's gotten my ass about this. Sean has gotten my ass about this. Jordan at one point. It's just knowing when to draw it back. For me, sometimes when I'm locked in on something, I'm like a bull seeing red. When I'm locked in, there's not anything or anybody that's going to stop me from getting it, achieving it. I don't care who I have to go through, who gets hurt in the process. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it done. And there's other ways to do that. There's other ways to handle that.
Do you have siblings?
3 younger sisters.
Okay. I was going to ask you, because, you're going back to a lot about how you were raised and brought up, and I wanted to know, is there anything that you would change about how you were raised? Or, what is something you would change about how you were raised?
I have 2 half-sisters. I grew up fully with the second youngest sibling, who is my sister who lives in LA right now. I would honestly say having the relationship early on with my other 2 siblings. Didn't really get a chance to establish those relationships early on. And honestly, still trying to configure.
Did they live near you growing up?
Hour and a half away. Hour and a half away, but learning to build those relationships now. Like, I have a niece now. I'm an uncle. So not only being there as an uncle, but how do I contribute and be an older brother like my other sister looks up to me? At the end of the day, it's still learning each other. Like, I'm still learning who I am.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring out things that I like, things I don't like, things I need to be involved in, people who I want to be around, who I don't need to be around. I feel like some people are meant to be in your life for seasons. Some people are meant to be there for life. And another thing that I'm starting to work on is, honestly, I have a really quick cutoff point. You cross me, you're pretty much gone. It's like
how at what level does it take to cross you? Is it easy to cross you?
I don't think it's that easy.
Looked at me. Like...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's really easy to cross me. It's like when I feel like my trust has been violated, or when I feel that.
What's an example of something that would violate your trust?
I'm talking to you in confidentiality about personal information, and then I find out that other members have found out this information, and so on and so forth. I only talked about 3 or 4 people about anything truly personal, and that's because they've shown that they can be trusted.
And that's a cutoff for you.
That's a cutoff.
No discussion. We're done. That's how it's
me. If I can talk to you about it and you'll own up to what you did, or we have a conversation about it and it's genuine, cool, we can move forward. But I don't like liars. Stuff like that is something I've never really dealt with because I've never let people close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like you are very quick to cut people off. I feel like you give like chances, and it's just whenever it gets to that point, depending on what it is. Because if it's the trust thing, like, I think that's a little bit different. But I think, you know, in general, because there are people that will cut people off just for like doing one thing. I don't feel like you're like that. Which I think that's a good thing personally, because I mean, I guess it depends on everyone's, because I don't want to say having strict boundaries is something that's bad, but I think it's good that you give grace in some areas that, you know, most people wouldn't give grace in.
Ebony's got my ass about that a lot too.
What'd you say?
Ebony's got my ass about me showing grace. She's like, "Sorry, you got to show grace," because I will quite literally be like, "No, foot in the mud, not moving, not budging." She's like, "You got to see other people's viewpoints. You got to." For me, it's hard because when I feel like I've been compromised, what else is there to talk about? What else is there to really do at that point? Because at that point, I'm not gonna say I'm sensitive, but I'm fairly like, damn, when I've been there for you or been there around you, develop friendships, develop relationships, we all have certain things that we learn about each other that they don't like, regardless of who you are. And I feel like to test certain people's morality or how they are going to respond to you because of where you are in their life, I feel like that's just takes advantage of the individual.
So I think it's interesting that a lot of people like really don't give grace. Like, it's essentially just a lost art. And like in my particular circumstance, like I feel like grace is something I really, really like had to learn because you guys know this, but I'm just it's hard for me to understand, or it used to be hard for me to understand where people were coming from, or, you know, if they would make an excuse for something or whatever the case may be, I would just be like, I had the mindset of like, basically like if they wanted to, they would. And like they would have made a way if they wanted to really do it. But since they didn't, they weren't able to make a way or whatever the case may be. But I had to learn, particularly like in my situations, like I feel like there was a situation I had with, I guess one of my biggest accomplishments in life, which would be like law school graduation. I had a really hard time understanding like people that said they couldn't come or whatever the case may be. I had a really hard time giving grace in that regard because I feel like that is something that was so important to me. I feel like everyone should have made a way. And
Okay.
so in that regard, I really had to sit with myself. And I remember there was one particular person that I was really, really expecting to be there. And it didn't happen. Essentially, what I got from the conversation was that you don't know what people have going on. You don't know what's going on in their lives. You don't know if they had something come up, they're trying to make a way to get there for you and they can't, or if there's just like every odd is against them and they're trying to get there but they can't. And so when that was explained to me, it was like something in my brain like really registered and was like, okay, like people like have lives outside of whatever you got going on. So I feel like in your instance, I guess in regards to like giving grace to people, like how did you learn to do so?
Or are you still learning?
Particular, are you still learning?
Still learning. Over the last month or two, I've taken on a new meaning as to what life truly is.
Okay.
What is that?
What about not sweating the small things, holding grudges, disliking people and still holding on to, like for me, somebody can be here today, pass away tomorrow. I still didn't like that motherfucker. That was just how I moved. Regardless, everybody's like, "Oh my God!" Like I'm like, "Well, sorry that happened to them," but my mindset was, "Sorry that happened to them. Don't wish that on anybody." But I still didn't take away from how I felt about the individual versus looking at a situation, and that's where the growth is with me now. Is being like, okay, damn, how do I look at why did I have this grudge? Why was I upset with somebody? I'm pretty sure we've all been mad at somebody. And when you look at it 2-3 years down the line, you're like,
I don't even remember.
Yeah. Is it even that deep?
Yeah. I definitely think not sweating the small stuff will take people very far. There's, do y'all know who, I actually don't remember her name specifically, Mel Robbins, I think is her name. I just discovered her like literally 2 weeks ago, so I don't want to come across like I know what I'm talking about. But I'm just curious if like y'all know. She's a podcaster but author and like all these other things, whatever. She like coined the theory, like the let them theory, which is like, you've heard that?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I watched this.
Which is like just essentially like whatever other people are doing, let them do it. And don't take that on. And then you got like for yourself reflect like, why does it matter to me what they're doing? I feel like a lot of times we stress about small shit that either doesn't have anything to do with us, that we make it about us. Somehow something Mia did yesterday, for some reason I think it's a reflection of me, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I wanted to hang out with Mia and she's out doing something. Oh, why didn't she invite me? Someone invited Mia and Mia's not thinking about me. But does that mean that Mia doesn't like me? Like, does that mean that, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I think we take things way too personally. And everyone is taking things personally. So 9 times out of 10 is not about you. Because they're focused on themselves. I feel like when we feel so, like, triggered or upset by something, it is important to voice that. Because I think also a lot of times people hold stuff in. And now it's showing up in our friendship because now all that resentment, I'm like starting, you know what I mean?
Right.
When you have resentment towards someone, it starts to show. And it just like chips away at the relationship. And I feel like it's just important to, if you're going to hold resentment, to talk about it. To talk about whatever issue you're having. Right. And if it's still not solved, then fuck them.
Right. But yeah, I feel like, I think I talked about this like maybe on my story before, but it's just essentially, letting people do what they want to do. And, you know, and I think it's important because sometimes people will let people do what they want to do and not, you know, necessarily have boundaries. Or, okay, she's saying let them do what they want to do, but also if they're doing something you don't like, then remove yourself. That's what they're saying. Okay. So I feel like people are just like, you just do whatever you want to do. No, you need to make sure that you take yourself out of the situation or communicate. Yeah.
Either communicate what's going on. She says like, let me. She's like, the second part of the let me, because apparently people get it tattooed a lot, let them. And she's like, what people don't get tattooed is let me, because that's the second part of it. Because you have to then, come into yourself. Like, you have to ask yourself,
Right.
why am I feeling like this? Is this something that's bothering me so much that I need to talk to this person? After I talk to them, is it getting solved? If not, is this like something I need to remove myself from? So I think it's important to do that checklist with yourself.
Do you feel like, and just for both of y'all, I guess, is because I am the type of person, like, I can communicate about some things, but when it gets to the point where there's repetitive behavior, I don't communicate. I just kind of cut myself off, or I block, or I do whatever I need to do. And so I get what you're saying about the communication, but do you feel like everything necessarily needs to be communicated, or is it something where, like, is it a bad thing if you just kind of cut them off or block them and just, like, never communicate again?
I have feelings about this.
I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but we also have to take into account, and I was going to say this after Amber said it, communication, everybody has a different communication style. Mm-hmm. So I may say something directly to you. You may be sensitive to my tone or the way I chose to relay that message. Mm-hmm. If you're aggravated, the more and more you know somebody, you can tell with their mannerisms that there's an issue. And you know, sometimes it takes very little to just, somebody feels some type of way, and say you're in a group setting, the whole group knows there's an issue but you, which amplifies and adds fire to a situation that that's already there, when it should just be a situation between you and an individual.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, I feel like blocking, I don't typically block people. I'll just mute you and let you talk to yourself and then come back and look at it later like, damn.
Yeah.
Shit, I do. I'll block anybody, bro.
I do think, obviously, everything boils down to, like, the level of friendship you have. I'm assuming we're talking about, like, close people. Mm-hmm. If there's a pattern, like, I think, like, for us, for example, right? I remember, like, I told you before, like, okay, like, you're doing things that are, like, selfish.
Yeah.
You know? I don't remember how I said it. I do remember being scared about it because I am a little fear of conflict, but I knew that
I remember you being as confident as you just said that. I remember it being like that.
Okay.
Because I don't think I would have listened if you would have, like, just been like,
because I also knew, right, I also knew it was something that it was like, if I want to continue a friendship with this person, which I do, I cannot continue being friends with this person if they keep doing shit like this.
Right.
Okay.
And I think this is how I go about friendships. If you're doing something that's bothering me, if it's bothering me enough where I, like, cannot continue, then I will talk about it. If I feel like I can't talk about it, if I'm scared to talk about it, if I don't know how to talk about it, then I will not act as if it's bothering me. I will let it go. Because I don't think it's fair to hold resentment to someone that you cannot communicate with.
Very true.
So if we go back to this was like our freshman, this is before we crossed, right?
I think there's been a couple of instances.
Oh.
But it's fine.
Once you become line sisters, you just like, bitch, act right.
Right.
But, like, for that example, like, if you was doing things and I was, like, letting it fester, and I got to the point where it was like, you know what, I don't even want to be friends with Mia. I don't think that's fair. Because it doesn't give you the opportunity to reflect and grow and learn and change as a person. And I feel like people, if it's someone you care about, you owe them the respect to be like, this is what you're doing and this is how it's impacting me. And then you give them the freedom. Mia she didn't have to change. You didn't have to do anything you didn't want to do, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, but I think it's important that the person expresses, this is impacting me and this is how it's impacting me. It's your choice if you want to do something about it.
I have a question for both of you. How do you know when you're starting to grow apart from someone? Friendship or... Because I think that ties in to this topic. I'm like, well, just because you may notice something bothers you later on down the line, because some people deflect their own emotions. Some people are like, okay, well, this bothers me, but because it's so-and-so, it's okay. But then, so how do you know?
Oh, I have a lot of feelings about this. And I think it's because, like, I have a very hard time letting people go. But I've also had a lot of situations where, like, I was forced to let people go. Like, it just got to a point where it was time. And I think that goes to a lot of, I guess that goes back to the point of giving grace. Because I feel like I am a person that gave grace to certain people. And so, like, for instance, I think I'm a little bit more graceful towards people that I probably grew up with or I've known for a long time. And I'm like, okay, like, I know this isn't them, but the way they're coming off is bad. And so when I talk to other people about it, or I talk to my other friends, they're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you need to cut them off. And it's like, yeah, but I know this person more than y'all do. Like, I know that at heart, like, they really are genuinely a good person and they have good intentions, but it's just not coming off that way. I know you're smiling because
I have a lot of feelings about that statement.
But I think for me, like, when you have so much love for somebody that, like, you give a lot more grace to them, because it's like, you don't want to, I guess because you don't want to lose the person, or you're just so used to the person being there. But, like, for instance, for me, like, I had a friendship, oh my God, how long was that friendship? Maybe, like, shoot, how old are we? 27? Maybe, like, 14 years, maybe 13 or 14 years. And it was, like, I was constantly giving grace to this person, which I don't want to bash her, because I feel like she, in her own way, she is a good person. But I think in our certain situation with us two, I think it was just a little bit toxic as far as, like, our friendship. I think it was just a little bit toxic, and there were certain things that she would do, and I would talk to my friends about it, and they would just be like, why are you still friends with her? And, like, Amber is a person that would used to be like, why are you still friends with her? And I'm like, but I know that, like, I know her so well that I think that she, I don't know, like, I think, like I said, when I tell you all the time, like, it's different to look at a situation from the outside looking in, as opposed to being in the situation.
Right.
I feel like you have a clear, like, view or mindset of whatever is going on. And so for me, I think my judgment might have just been a little bit clouded, but I think also it's different when you feel like you know a person so well that, like, I felt like she was being misunderstood, maybe. I feel like she was just maybe misunderstood in the way she would go about things. I feel like there's grace that is given to people when you know them on such a personal level. Like, I mean, there's other people I could talk about too with that regard. Like, I feel like they come off so bad, but they are actually good people. Have you ever been, like, the situation I was talking about, do you feel like you have been in that situation before where you've had to grow apart from somebody that you've loved?
Yeah,
the love for the individual doesn't go away. My thing is, sometimes, like I said at the beginning, like, sometimes people are meant to be in your life for a season.
Right.
Sometimes you may not know what purpose they served until later on, but maybe somebody was just there just to help you get through a trying time, and you outgrew the trauma of the situation, and you spread your wings for something new. I feel like even when you look at dating, for instance, you can outgrow a partner for many different reasons.
Right.
Many different reasons. But, like, for me, like, one of my flaws that I had to realize about myself growing up was that when it came down, well, when dating in general, was, damn, are you even letting the person close enough to get to know you? Are you even emotionally available? For me, my comfort zone was keeping you at an arm's distance, chilling with you. I was the king of a situationship. Didn't do commitments. And I'm completely honest with that. So, and even when talking to individuals or running across people that I've dealt with or had friendships with that didn't pan out, and I have those conversations with them, the first thing I do is, hey, I apologize for any fault or anything you felt that I did to harm you. Regardless of what they say back to me, at the end of the day, at least I can look at what I've done, whether it was intentional, unintentional, hurting them, because sometimes it takes you being out of something for a while to realize, damn, I was toxic. Damn, maybe, because me, I was the king of this is where we at, it ain't going further than that. Regardless of where feelings went, up, down, left, right, I was like, look, we had an agreement on X, Y, and Z, and then that's where I became the asshole, and then all this other stuff started transpiring. But
do you think this goes back to, like, how you were raised by, like, when you were talking earlier about being raised to be essentially like a man of the household and like
Being a man of a household is completely different than me just not wanting to commit or be near anybody.
but your
Yeah.
lack of ability to be vulnerable, or at this time, I don't know about now. Do you think that you struggled with being vulnerable during that time?
Yeah,
with people?
it was just more comfortable for me having people further away than like over the last 7-8 years is the most I've let people in to develop true relationships, true friendships.
And what has sparked that in the last 7 or 8 years?
The people.
What do you feel like someone has to do in order to gain close
your
to
trust,
you, or gain your trust? Or is it kind of just like
Time.
a feeling?
It's a feeling and it's time.
Okay.
I feel like people say, well, you respect and everything like that that shit ain't given. That shit's earned in my
I
eyes.
agree.
Shane
That shit
Booty
is
says trust equals consistency plus time.
Mm-hmm.
I love Shane Booty. Y'all will probably hear me
Yeah.
talk about her all the time. 'Cause
Definitely.
I love that girl.
Yeah.
Woman.
She's a goat. She's a goat.
So the more time I spend around people, the more I get to know them. I'm pretty good at reading people. Even if I'm around you, I can read you. Anybody who's in the room, who's in my peripheral, and who I'm talking to, I'm judging the hell out of you. I'm reading every year from your mannerisms to what you're saying. As crazy as that may sound, it's just for me. It just makes me comfortable. Okay, are they lying? Are they not lying? Because I go into every situation not trusting people.
Is that like a defense mechanism, do you think?
I think so. It's just
Have you been like betrayed a lot in the past, or like what do you think that stems from?
betrayed a lot in the past. I would say no, but I don't like but I have been naive in my past. So from being naive, you start looking at things a little bit different. It's like, okay, you take an approach to people. Like, for instance, getting to know Mia. Off rip, it was judgment. Day one, I was like, she full of shit. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm like, she full of shit. I'm honest. Like, but there are instances where we've also sat down and talked to where I would talk about certain things that I'm observing. She's like, huh. And vice versa. She read the fuck out of me sometimes. My partner read the hell out of me sometimes. And sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right, but it just opens the door to deeper conversations. I like deep conversations, even though I don't walk around trying to open them up all day long, every day.
Yeah.
But if I'm around you and I'm openly trying to develop any sort of relationship with you or friendship with you, I feel that you can't be close to someone and not know them. You can't have somebody in your inner circle and not know them. In a way, not saying know every instance about them, but just know, okay, what makes them tick? What have they been through? Even if it's not their deepest, darkest secrets, just on a micro level. Because sometimes you have friendships and relationships that are just based off of the pure aesthetic of just being around the individual or what they're a part of. College, being in organizations, you had people around you all the time who didn't give a damn about who you were.
Right.
Just because of what you had across
Exactly.
your chest.
Do you think the perception that people have of you matches what you think about yourself?
No.
No. And how do you think that?
You know how many people walk up to me and they be like, oh yeah, da da da, or I hear from a third party, oh yeah, he got money. How many times I was wanting to go into dating and be like, oh yeah, he got money, let me date him.
Why do you think people think that? 'Cause you look nice?
I be chilling.
Okay.
For the most part, I don't flash a lot of shit. Am I rich? No, not from any standpoint. I'm just driven about what I want and how I'm gonna get it. That's just.
Do you think your confidence exudes like, oh, he must have some sort of wealth?
Maybe. I don't know, but I've heard that quite a few times and it makes me not want to be around the individuals. Honestly, I'm just like, okay, you know what? Even in college, I don't know if y'all remember, I was always talking about what I wanted in my future. Mm-hmm. I didn't care about, and something else that I've been learning and been told a lot about is you got to live in the moment sometimes. I feel like living in it's hard for me to stay in the moment. My mind is always on what's next. What do I have to do to get to the next goal? What do I have to do to make sure that I'm able to maintain what I do have, what I am earning.
So where do you find the time, if you're constantly looking for the next goal and how to get there, where do you find the time to appreciate the goal that you already achieved?
That's the thing, I don't. At that point, like, say it's a material item that I purchased. Like, my thing was, when I wasn't used to treating myself. When I started spoiling myself, I would just be like, you know what, I'm going to get a steak today. I'm going to go just do XYZ today, but without, and lost sight of what my goals actually were. So I'm like, dang, so how do you balance treating yourself and still maintaining what you're moving forward to?
I don't think you necessarily have to enjoy things with external stakes and prizes and miscellaneous things. You know, I think when you can master being in the moment, it's really helpful to enjoy what you have. Like she was saying, like, mindfulness, like, oh, everyone uses the word mindfulness, but it's real. Like, if you can take the moments to deeply breathe and, like, come to your body in this moment, you'll probably feel a lot more relaxed than you usually feel if you're constantly thinking about the future.
Right. Because my question is, I guess, if you're constantly thinking about the next thing that's going to happen rather than appreciating what you have going on in the moment, how are you ever satisfied? Because you're just going to keep that cycle going on and on and on. You'll never be satisfied because you're always just looking at the next thing, which if you, like, I think, for instance, like with us, I feel like our goal, like our initial goal being that 100 followers, like, I think we took the time to, like, appreciate, we got 100 followers. Okay, now let's move on to the next thing. You're just never going to be satisfied. So what do you think about that? Like, do you think there's ever some sort of, like, satisfaction that you get from achieving your goals, or do you feel like
it's just immediately,
it's immediate for
let's
me?
Get the next move.
For me, it's immediately, all right, let's get it moving. Because it's motivation for me to the next thing.
Where are you going?
Right.
Next career goal.
And then where are you going?
It's closer to me getting to where
you know what I mean. The real answer to that question, though, is we're all going to the same place.
Say that, yeah. We're all dying someday.
So,
but the legacy you leave while you're here.
What does that do for you once you're dead? What did Mike Tyson say?
You won't be around to appreciate it.
It's not about what the legacy leaves for me. My thing is, when I do get to the point to where I'm having kids and I have a family, to make sure they want for nothing. To make sure they don't have student loans. They get to go to the private schools. They get all the access to all of the extracurricular STEM programs and stuff like that. That's that stuff that drives me to be like, okay, damn, how do I give them more? And then the only way to do that is to start to prepare for. So a legacy is more than just you. I look at a legacy as what are you leaving behind? Like, for me, I was taught growing up, can you function if your parents are dead? Can I function? Can I be the same person I am now without them being here? Can I stand on my own 2 feet? That's how I'm wired with things. I'm like, okay, dang, how do I make sure that they don't have to deal with certain things that I had to endure? How do I make sure that... Who is
they? Your future children?
Future kids, future family. Yeah, how do I make sure that they're able to go to the colleges that they got into? Hands down, boom, go.
Like, and I know we've talked about this because you do treat yourself. Yeah. If there's things that happen, like, you will buy yourself something. You need to tell them about that little thing you got out there.
What you got? What you pulled up in?
My Tesla?
Not with the shrug. What, my Tesla?
My Tesla? Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there's things that you can give yourself as a reward for yourself. Also, and I'm not going to put your business out here, but this man bought a $400...
But you about to?
But I'm about to. This man bought $400 Lego set?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
A $400 Lego set
for yourself
as a treat for himself.
Yeah, like
what is it?
Oh, it's a McLaren car. So like,
this is what I'm saying. Now you got McLaren Lego. It's just crazy.
Hey, inspiration for when I get one in real life.
Yo, he's talking about to visualize this shit.
I'm like, look, I'm gonna get one eventually. Like, for me, like,
that is hilarious. I respect it.
I like to live on the edge a little bit. Ride motorcycles. It's gonna sound crazy. It's the closest I feel to death. If that makes sense. It's
when you're riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's like, it's a different feeling. It's like an outer body experience. It's like a high that. It's like a high that. It's like a high you can't put into words. For me, that's like where I think, how I process. I don't know. I love it.
I rode on the back of a motorcycle recently, and this was my third time, but this was my first time like on the interstate actually going fast for real. Because the second time was in the parking lot. The first time was going from Copper Beach to Walmart in Greenville, like whatever. So this time was like a whole different experience because I think we reached up to like it was like 115 miles per hour or something.
Oh, that's nothing.
I know, but granted, this was me saying don't act crazy. And I just remember like and I think there's also something about being on the back of the motorcycle because I have zero control. Makes sense. I just have to hold on, and I was literally, I talked to God so many times in that ride. I was just holding on, and I was like, this is like so much fun right now, but also there was like a terms that you come to where you're like, I could die right now. Like, what's going on? Weaving through these cars, like, I could die. So I just held on, closed my eyes, and I was like, just hold on. So, you go into talking about the legacy you want to leave behind, and it essentially sounds like you're living your life a lot for, your future children and future wife or whatever. Is that something that you would continue when you have kids? 100%.
As soon as
so the risk that comes with riding a motorcycle doesn't concern you when you have children to be there for?
I would be lying if I said it didn't. I don't see myself giving it up. Because giving up something that you love shouldn't be at the expense of your family. What that means is, of course, there are certain things that you're going to have to do because you have a family. But if your true passion is painting or dancing, you don't have to give that up because you have a family. It's just you just have to incorporate it in a different way. Like, if my passion then at that point is, if they, say for instance, I have kids and they want to pick up and have an interest in riding, that's a bond I can share with them. I feel like treating yourself, understanding what it is your true passions are, and I'm still figuring out what my passions are. I have friends that want me to go golfing with them, but I'm like, you know what? Is golfing, number one, I go to Top Golf, and I'm barely hitting shit off the tee. I'm not even gonna lie. So why the hell am I gonna go to it? So why am I going to go to a golf course?
Thank you guys so much. Tune in for the next episode and follow, subscribe, do all that jazz. And we'll see you next time. All right.